Every time LEGO announces a brand new set or theme, I can guarantee you we'll see one type of comment come at least once in our videos or on Reddit, Brickset, Eurobricks, or other forums, and that is,
"This is completely overpriced."
And I honestly don't find that analysis very fulfilling, and in fact, I think it's wrong. So let's dig in as to why. Let's first acknowledge what LEGO is, and that is a hobby that many of us have that is very expensive. You cannot deny that. Even if you are relatively wealthy, you understand that there are LEGO sets that are costly for a lot of people. And that really is something that's been true of LEGO since day one. When I was a kid in the 1980s, you can take a look at prices, and adjusted for inflation, they were pretty expensive. And even though LEGO has gotten relatively less expensive in terms of inflation and even the purchasing power that the average person has in North America, Europe, Southeast Asia, and other places in the world, it's still an expensive hobby to have. And so it's understandable that when people see the price of some of these sets, they're going to have a little bit of a revulsion to it. And again, I totally get that, and I agree. There's a limit to how much most people can buy. But in order for us to establish that something is overpriced, let's think about what that actually means. And I don't want to get into economic jargon here, but I think roughly speaking, when we say something is overpriced, what we could mean, if we're trying to be accurate, is this set at this price isn't going to sell. And at some point, it's going to have to be lowered in an attempt to move that product off of the shelves. And I'm not talking about an occasional promotional sale or, Amazon Prime Days or Walmart puts it on clearance to move some things out in order to have the new sets available on their shelves. I'm really talking about LEGO offering this at a steep discount early in its release because it's just not going well. Now, part of the problem with this definition is you don't really know what it's going to be in terms of overpriced or not until after the fact, and it's kind of fun to project and anticipate which sets could be overpriced and which ones are going to be on sale relatively soon because, hey, you might get it at a cheaper price. So let's start thinking about some examples of what an overpriced LEGO set is. I'll give you some examples that I can think of off the top of my head. One is the Hulkbuster. That was, a $500 set, and everyone knew it made no sense for them to put that out there. It did not feel like a $500 set, and believe it or not, it was on sale pretty quickly. Same with the Black Panther bust. The foosball table, another example of that, where people were kind of shocked by the amount that LEGO's asking for, $250 in the United States. Given what you were actually getting, and of course what we thought we were getting when the LEGO Ideas submission was approved. In terms of themes, I think we can all look back at video as being one of those that was overpriced, not because the price point itself was super high, unlike the previous examples I gave, but that there was no demand for those sets. That theme gained zero traction around the world, and so LEGO slashed prices, and retailers were like, just fire sailing those things out the door, even though I thought there were some pretty good accessories and some minifigs. I didn't buy any of the sets, but hey, some people were able to do it at a very discounted price. So those are definitely overpriced. So what do people really mean when they say, oh, the Burrow or Rivendell or Barad-dûr or Star Wars UCS blank is overpriced? Well, I think there's two things. The first is, I can't afford it. And that's a real thing. I just don't think saying it's overpriced is actually communicating what you really mean when you say it. For instance, Millennium Falcon, it's $850 US. That's a lot of money. It's something that I can't afford, but clearly enough people can because it's still $850. It went from $800 to $850, and it's been on the shelves for years. And it's looking like it's going to be on the shelves for yet another year or two based on some recent data that I've seen. So clearly not overpriced. Another example, Rivendell. A year or two ago, we bought the Lion-Knight's Castle, $400. It was the largest and most expensive LEGO set we had purchased up to that date. And I said, there's no way we're gonna go above 400 bucks. Like $500, I can't imagine what Lego would come out with that would cost 500 bucks that I would wanna buy and actually put that money toward. And then Rivendell. And being a huge Lord of the Rings fan and seeing how that set looked and the building techniques, I was hooked on it, and we actually were able to do that in part thanks to money we set aside and revenue from this channel. And I can tell you, that set, despite its cost, is worth $500. And there were people that said on day one, this is overpriced. I can't imagine any Lego set really being worth $500. But I can tell you, the minifigs are fantastic. The pieces are incredible. The building experience was so entertaining and engaging that it was absolutely worth every penny that I spent on that set. And I will also acknowledge that that is purely subjective. Somebody might get the same set and said, nope, absolutely not. And many of you might even have 500 bucks and say, no, I don't think that set is worth the value. And that's the second thing I think people mean when they say this set is overpriced. That this particular set at this value, at this price, is not worth the value. We'll take a look at a recent example of this, which is the upcoming Burrow Harry Potter Collector's Edition, $260 for 2,400 pieces. And I make the argument in my breakdown of that set, I think it's not the best value. I don't think it's overpriced, but I'm not sure that value is worth it because you could get the 2020 version of the Burrow for $100, $110 on Bricklink or eBay or maybe from somewhere else. And so does this new version really rise to the level of $160 better than a set that you could get that's the same thing? Maybe not as detailed, maybe not quite as big, but pretty close. So again, it's not that the Burrow is overpriced, rather it is not maybe getting the value, or we're not getting the value we want out of that set at that price point. And we can hope that maybe that set will go on sale or through double insiders points or various gifts with purchase. Lego's gonna try to entice us to buy that set at some point in time if we're part of that market, that constituency that would buy that set. Now the reality is, right, I can't afford it, and this set does not give me value at its sticker price is not the same as overpriced, broadly speaking. I think that's key. Individually, it may be priced at higher than we're willing to pay, but by and large, people are willing to pay that. I think a great example of this overall is Lego Star Wars. You know, I've talked about on this channel how I've never purchased a Lego Star Wars set for myself. I've received some as gifts, I've bought a couple of small ones for my kids, but never purchased one for myself. And in part, I don't think they're very good value. I think that Lego has marked up many of those sets. The Desert Skiff is a great example of that with the Sarlacc pit. It's a cool looking set. 80 bucks? No, not at all. Would I say that's overpriced? No, I think there are plenty of people out there that are willing to buy that set and other Star Wars sets at that price point because that's what they want. And Lego will sell enough copies at that price that it doesn't justify them knocking it down to $70 or $65, which might be close to what I'm willing to pay for it. Again, doesn't give me the value at $80, but it gives somebody that value at that price point. And you can go through Star Wars set after Star Wars set, and by and large, many people, myself included, don't think that the value matches the price tag, but there are enough that do. In another theme, going to Harry Potter, I think that the Sorting Hat is not worth $100. I don't, but a lot of people do. And I don't know how well that set is selling. Lego doesn't really release set-by-set information, but we do know that when Lego marks it off discounted, then we know that there's something going on in terms of a price correction. Now, I can see some of you asking the following question. So, Colin, what you're saying is we can never really predict which sets are overpriced. Well, not exactly. If you go back and look at different forums and comments and even my own videos on sets like the Hulkbuster, the Foosball Table, the Black Panther Bust, many people that follow Lego closely said, these are not going to sell. And I think there's a little bit of intuitiveness that goes into that, even though it is subjective. So what are some sets that I think are actually overpriced? Well, two of them, recently released by LEGO, are part of their Building Together collection. The set based off of the US LEGO Masters video or the game show, as well as the one based on building letters. I think those are way overpriced, and I tend to think that they're going to go on sale pretty quickly after they are released. In part because I don't think they're very well executed, and I don't think you're getting much value for the price. And by and large, the LEGO community is going to say the same thing by not buying those sets at those prices. That doesn't mean it's not worth getting them at lower prices. In fact, I think there are some great sets that I would entertain getting if they were a little bit lower, even though at that sticker price, not buying it at all. So I don't know what this means in the big picture. Maybe you look at this and say, yeah, I think you're wrong. Everything's overpriced. LEGO is just greedy. They're out there gouging customers. Or maybe you say, you know what? Yeah, there are people, unlike me, willing to pay retail price for these sets, and LEGO not just gets away with it, but they're offering a product that many people want to get. Thanks for watching, and always remember to keep building together.